Xenia, Leontyeva, and Vitoria, Ivanova. Sorry for my accent. Basically, what I want to tell you today is how we get to gather the figures that we have used in the report and to treat them. We have a wonderful tool at the European Audiovisual Observatory, which is our database and search engine, Lumiere. With Lumiere, well, first in Lumiere we gather information from 30 plus European countries. We get the input from the different national film agencies. We put all that information together, and then we can produce statistics as it's written here by year of production, by country of production, by country of release, year of release, and of course we get the number of emissions in those individual territories. By the way, I invite you to check it out. You can find the link at the bottom of the slide. This is how it looks like. So anyone going to the internet right now can access Lumiere. Let me give you an example. For instance, if we take one of the films co-produced by two of the panelists today from Aftermath, the co-production between Poland and Russia, you will see with Lumiere you can find out how many emissions were made in each country where the film was released. In Europe, you can look at the information year by year, and you also have some additional information, like for instance, that the film was supported by Audiovisual. Now, Lumiere has also a big problem. Lumiere, the normal Lumiere, the lighter version, is free and accessible to anyone. This big brother is for our internal use, and it also works by subscription. With Lumiere Pro, you have all the functionalities that you have with Lumiere, plus you can also produce rankings. So you can do title by title searches, and you can also produce rankings. I will explain to you why. For instance, if we choose, this is the close-up, here. For instance, if, as we did for the report, we want to know how many Russian films were released in any market, of all the markets we have in here, between the period 2010 to 2014, and were released between 2010 and 2015. You just select all this information. You could also select many other variables, like if it's a co-production or if it's a minority co-production. You can select the director, even the director's schedule, and then you get a list of all the films, plus the number of editions by territory. And this is how we were able to produce the statistics in the final report that will be presented by Xenia and Vitoria. From the number of films produced and released in Russia by year, and also the number of co-productions, majority and minority co-productions. Just to mention for finishing that in Lumiere Pro, we have not only the 30 plus countries that we have in Lumiere, but also 12 additional non-European territories. Some Latin American countries, the United States, Canada, South Korea, and some others. If you are interested in Lumiere, the lighter version, please check it out on the internet. For Lumiere Pro, you can subscribe if you are a research institution or a public institution. Be in touch with us, and we can explore the possibility of subscription. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, everyone. Now we're switching into Russian, so if you need interpretation, please use our headphones. First, I'd like to say a couple of words about our study in general, and then to highlight the quantitative study, because my colleague will speak about the qualitative part. So what was our study about? This is the book itself. I think you've all seen it already. And after the conference, you can, if you wish, you can collect a copy for yourself. So the study was divided into qualitative and quantitative parts. We included a legislative overview. We made a major study, legislative study for the Observatory in 2014. The latest one was in 2014, and later changes were described in our latest study, this one. The aspects concerning co-production, film production in general, and framework of distribution of films. We studied the volume of film production in Russia. A big part is devoted to producers of feature films, animation, documentary films. I think our foreign colleagues will be most interested in this. And this movie research company helped us greatly in preparation of this part. They also helped in studying how many co-produced films are made in Russia. And the Nevafilm research company, our company, studied the volume of export. And Lumiere and Lumiere Pro programs helped us in this. We studied the CIS region, Russia, Europe, and other regions that include Latin America, China, US, etc. And a small part is, I think, which is also most interesting for our foreign colleagues, it is input of foreign films into Russia and CIS. So this study is quite diverse and includes many aspects, so everybody can find something interesting. And we didn't actually expect it to come out so great. And what we're very proud of is this social survey that was conducted by my colleague Vitoria. It was a virtual roundtable discussion of 24 participants, and she's going to speak about it later. So here you can see the major film producers, feature film producers. And you can see the number of films produced by them from 2011-2015 and the budget for these films. So it is a profile, so to say, of every major film producer in Russia. So we can see what they focus on. Do they produce many films or for vast audience, or some art house films, or many low budget films, or a few big budget films? What are the sources of our study? First is the state registry. So we can see the distribution certificates issued for every producer, and what country produced such certificates for our producers. And we found out that actually this data is not always accurate. For example, when we speak to producers themselves, they say we do not have a distribution certificate for this and that film, but there is such data in the registry, and vice versa. Naturally, we tried to look into it further. We used Lumiere. Observatory also collects data from various sources, so we used their database as well. We also looked at what is the minority and majority co-production in terms of Russian participation. And this information is problematic to find for the period of time that we looked at. Kinopoisk is a movie database. It's an analog of IMDb, and it's Russian, the biggest Russian movie database, which we also used. So in many of our graphs you can see note that which source was used, and more often than not, all three sources were used. So we have official data on co-production, but as I already said, there is a big issue of accurate data, acquiring accurate data on co-production. Because, in part, because the definition of co-production is very vague. As we defined it, producers from different countries should participate in co-production, that it is a co-production film. But some people say that, for example, if an actress, one of the actresses in the film is French, then it is a co-production between Russia and France, which I believe not to be very precise. Now, the number of releases in Russian market. We can see a dramatic drop in 2015. Of course, not all films produced in 2015 were released in 2015, so we need to take that into account. But about 70 or 80% of films were already released. And I think this drop is quite noticeable. Primarily minority co-production films. The drop is in this segment. We see 2-point drop, 22. So we see that this harsh economic situation that we're facing now prevent certain producers from releasing their films to the market, because they are not always in charge of the whole process. We looked at what countries contribute to participate in co-production with Russia most. Let's look at where Russia is the majority producer. We have two large partners, Ukraine and USA. About a third of all the films produced in this period, 2011-2015, were made with these two countries. Of course, when we combine all this data, we will not get 100% because we couldn't include every participant. And of course, Kazakhstan is one of major partners as well. As well as Germany and France, as you can see here. Russia is a member of Eupimage, and we have during the period of our membership there, we made 21 applications. Russian producers made 21 applications. 10 of them were approved, and from 2006. 10 co-production projects with Russian minority co-production were approved. Since 2012, Russia had the right to make such applications, and we weren't very active in this, but 31 European films were released in Russia, and 28 of them in 2016. So now, when we face this crisis of independent films, our producers started applying for help from European agencies. And 9 Russian cinemas are part of this Europa Cinemas. This organization, they support releases of European films in foreign market. And not just in Moscow and St. Petersburg. There is one in Yekaterinburg, Novosibirsk, etc. Speaking about export of Russian movies abroad, there is certain directions, so to say. The CIS market, European market, and other markets listed here below. In CIS, we looked at 3 major territories. Ukraine first. We used Kinobusiness Сегодня. It's a magazine, film industry magazine. Second is Kazakhstan, and third is Belarus, according to Nevafilm research data. Second is European countries by Lumiere, and other markets by Lumiere Pro. When we look at all Russian produced films, both minority and majority co-production projects, we see 2 leading markets. Ukraine, which import our films at about 25% of admissions a year. It's an average figure for the year. And with 22% foreign admissions in the US. The third largest market is Kazakhstan. But when we distinguish between majority and minority co-production projects, Russian-led projects, we see that for the US, the majority of such project is this minority co-production. And such projects like Sin City, Machete Kills, etc. With a minority co-production in Russia. They were and as for other markets, obviously Ukraine, for the majority co-produced project in Russia, the largest importer is Ukraine, then Kazakhstan 16%, so we have the data, Belarus 11%. As for Russian-produced films, is Metro and Snow Queen, they were quite popular in foreign markets. We also export to China about 6% of foreign admissions. Of course, it's not a blockbuster in terms of Chinese market, but it still attracts certain interest, and certainly this market is very interesting and potentially profitable for us. So Russian producers look at it closely. Here you can see distinguished by markets and how many admissions were. Well, I don't want to speak a lot about the statistics because I want to give the floor to Vitoria with her very interesting presentation on the qualitative part of our study.
Good morning, everyone. Before we move on to quantitative or rather qualitative study, I'd like to thank our supporters. We as researchers are very grateful to European Audiovisual Observatory and other partners. We're thankful for the methodology that they have suggested. And this is a unique method that I will try to explain currently, or rather presently. Everything we did as part of this research, we did in terms of Russia's participation in international affairs. We kept this in mind. So we are always out there. We are always present on the markets, and we're getting some awards from time to time. So we is an equal partner on the international film market. But we asked ourselves why, considering all this, Russia is so inactive in terms of co-production and export of Russian movies abroad. Why the performance figures are so low. This issue at hand can and should be approached differently from Russia's perspective, from international stakeholders' perspective, from foreign viewers' perspective, or from professional participants' perspective. As the goal of our study was to identify some bottlenecks and challenges and hurdles that prevent active development of the Russian market in this area. So we decided to focus on professional segments, focus on professionals, and we decided to ask the professional participants themselves, Russian producers who are active on this market. We wanted to know their opinion, their views on co-production, their forecasts and their challenges that they face. So the study subject was the attitude of Russian professional stakeholders to this area of market. Actors, participants are 22 professionals, Russian-born, with various skills and competencies. And besides 22 producers, we have invited 2 representatives of international institutions, such as Unifrance, Euromage. The methodology of the study was as follows. We conducted personal interviews with each participant. The interview followed the same structure, yet it was unique in terms of each producer's experience and skill sets. Each interview lasted for 2 hours, and we're very grateful to all the participants for their time and for their being earnest with us, their honesty, and this is what helped us to move on with our research. After the interviews, we have done general analysis of their answers and their opinions. So using this general analysis, we have identified a number of challenges that Russian producers told us about, both general and specific. So we had some, so to say, a virtual roundtable with 22 participants where they expressed their views and concerns. So what are the key findings? There are various levels, various dimensions here. First is micro level. The problems challenges on the micro level concerned producer's competence, as it is, producer from professional standpoint, so to say. Second level is the level of interaction of Russian producers with their foreign counterparts. Then several problems have been identified in terms of cooperation of Russian producers with Russian institutions. And the next level is political context that cannot be ignored. So it's like something like political and cultural aspects of interaction between the states, and I'm going to focus on this a little bit more later on. So the producers themselves have identified their own weak points, the points that stop themselves to develop, the main reasons why they are inert in this, so to say, prevent them from being effective. The lack of English language skills. Everybody said, yes, we can use translators and interpreters, but when talking about exports and Russian products and films, it's very private, it's very personal. You have to be in personal contact with all the stakeholders yourself. So this is one of the main challenges for the Russian producers. Another very specific Russian feature is inertness, lack of awareness. So people are inert and unaware. That's very Russia-specific trait. And film production is no exception in this. Many producers pointed out that they are not informed, that they have a lack of communication skills, whereas communication skills are a top priority in this area, because all the meetings, all the personal contacts are underpinned by communication skills. So not just English language skills, but basic communication skills serve as a barrier, as a hurdle when communicating with the foreign counterparts. People are basically afraid that they will not succeed. Fear of failure. Another thing is Russia as a professional entity is a rather young player on this international market. So our producer's assistance is another challenge, because producer cannot be at the same time in several places. So they have to have people who would help them. You cannot be a jack of all trades in this. You have to have legal assistance, professional assistance, and yet there are very few of them currently in Russia. Another thing, legal illiteracy, so to say. Many producers gave us examples when contracts were made incorrectly, and they missed it because they are not legally trained, and this led to conflicts and problems on international scale, and many examples are abound. So this is another very crucial area, and another reason why Russian producers are afraid of international relations and cooperation, because they are not quite skilled in this, and they do not understand why this is happening and how this is happening. Many producers also have pointed out that Russian market usually has quick money, so to say. You usually tend to get money rather quickly, but money from the funds and foundations are long money, so to say. So when there is a Russian partner here nearby, or the Russian institution who is willing to finance your projects, then Russian producers are more eager to use the quick money, so to say, the short money, the Russian money, instead of undergoing through all the tedious European procedures. Many Russian producers also said that for many reasons you have to spend lots of time and effort to establish a sales channel, yet the profitability is rather low. As for internal relations between producers from various countries, we have identified two main reasons, or rather two main hurdles, why they fail to communicate properly. More than a half producers pointed out that they do not trust their colleagues, so they have mutual distrust based on cultural aspects or the ethical aspects or something else. So Russian producers have their own reasons to distrust their colleagues from other states, and their European counterparts are not very trustful when they deal with Russian colleagues. Maybe after the 1990s, that were very turbulent time in Russia. Maybe there are some other reasons for that. Another reason is general business attitude and general business ethics. This is something that I've mentioned before about long and short money. This often led to communications being severed and basically cut. We have also identified a number of challenges that concern our national film production specificity. Many producers have pointed out, well, rather candidly, that domestic products are not on the same level as other examples, and we do not have means to improve this quality of Russian films. And since the situation on the market is volatile, producers rely heavily on national state support, which is limited to a very narrow choice of topics. And the development of commercial cinema requires lots of funding, but to improve the quality of the products, you have to eliminate the piracy problem and also other issues. And yet we still have the piracy problem in Russia. Regional producers, basically all regional producers, complain about so-called Moscow centricity. So everything is about Moscow and St. Petersburg. All the financing goes to Moscow and St. Petersburg, and regions get just a small fraction of these resources. Basically all of them said that Russian products are not supported properly abroad, and there are not enough international meeting places where they could establish new contacts with their foreign colleagues and counterparts. On the macro level, Russian state support and international support. Well, the issue here is political aspect, because Russia has a rather negative image on the political arena presently. And Russian cinema is not supported properly on international markets. So if a Russian producer wants to participate in something, they lack this powerful state support, both financial and cultural. Another important thing that producers mentioned in terms of film production is there is no mutual support of minority co-produced films. And since there is no such reciprocity, it decreases the level of trust to Russian products. And lack of fiscal incentives that would foster international production in Russia. And the last thing I'd like to mention in my presentation is the specific nature of the Russian cinema, how it is perceived abroad. We have paid close attention to this perception, because you cannot just blame the state for everything. Russian cinema is specific, and many respondents said that it's hard to find a topic that would be interesting both for Russian and international audiences. Our international partners mentioned poor translation of scripts and films themselves, which is a major barrier for selling Russian movies abroad. And again, it's hard to understand Russian film. There are no international movie stars, there's different language, different culture, different mentality. And like I mentioned before, unfortunately Russian movies are not competitive enough on the international market, which leads to very small sales figures. And currently Europe has shaped a certain expectations horizon. So Russian movies are seen as festival movies and auteur movies, but not there is no such niche as mainstream Russian films. So this needs to be supported. Russian film industry needs to be supported abroad. And that's it for me. Thank you. And now Oleg Berezin, next speaker, CEO of Nevafilm.